Hey everybody, Ryan here with Rays latest. Today I would like to talk about the Fangraphs kind of projected outlook for the Tampa Bay Rays for 2026. And this is the full depth roster of who they believe is going to get service time in 2026, as well as kind of their projected averages, plate appearances, WAR, expected batting average, things like that. It's got all the basic stats that you need, plus what kind of they think's going to happen with who's going to be up and down. So from the catcher's perspective, they project Nick Fortes and Fiducia to pretty much split right down the middle plate appearance wise. They have Fortes at 314 and Fiducia at 262. With they also do have Dominic Keegan projected to get 64 plate appearances, which I don't necessarily think that he might get any playtime or any time on the big league roster this season, just because I haven't seen him fully shape into what I believe that he can be. And I don't think that he's necessarily ready at a big league level from a hitting perspective. But from a defensive perspective, I think there's a little more intrigue there. But just from a hitting perspective, I just don't think that he's big league ready. I think truly he does need one more year in double and triple A and kind of to see if he can get over that hump from a bat standpoint. But they have Fortes projected to hit 240, Fiducia 218. So kind of what we are expecting. Fortes at a 1.2 WAR. So kind of around that kind of subpar batting area at the catching position. And at first base, they have Aranda projected to hit 263 with a 1.8 WAR, which is a little lower than kind of what I thought he would end up or what he's going to end up doing this year. I think he's going to hit around the 275, 280 range in my opinion. And they have a slugging at 441, which is it's just not bad. That's pretty accurate in my opinion. They have Diaz projected to get 154 plate appearances at first base for the Rays and 497 as the DH. And so they project him to hit about 294 with a 2.3 WAR, and that's all contingent on if he's still playing for the Tampa Bay Rays. In my opinion, I don't know if that's a for sure lock of him kind of being around for too much longer, especially kind of seeing how 2026 is going to shape out, in my opinion. So we'll see how that plays out for Diaz. And then Trey Morgan is also projected to get 56 plate appearances, hit 244 with a point 0.1 WAR. So I'm actually kind of curious to see if Trey Morgan can get any big league play time this year. It's been talked about. He's been in AAA at a really young age, so it's good for him kind of being at that high level already, kind of fresh out of college necessarily. So we'll see if he can get any 2026 play time. And as well, at second base, Gavin Lux projected to hit 254 and get a 440 plate appearances at second. Taylor Walls, 105 at second, and a 217. Gavin Lux's projected WAR is about a 1.4. Taylor Walls about a point 0.1 from a hitting perspective, not defensive WAR. His defensive WAR is unbelievable usually. At a shortstop perspective, Carson Williams projected to get 434 plate appearances and hit 206, which is very concerning with a point 0.9 WAR. So that's going to be the intrigue to me. Taylor Walls projected to get 224 plate appearances at short. So I am truly curious to kind of see how Carson Williams can, if he can take a stride and kind of settle into that everyday shortstop role. I think he can do it. I think that if he can produce at a higher level with the bat, there's going to be kind of no question to have to play him at shortstop every single day. But that's all contingent on if he can kind of cut down on some strikeout rate, kind of increase the bat to ball rating, and decrease chase rating. I think he can do it. I truly do think he can do it. He has taken a major slide on the top prospects list. He's down to I think it was 87 or 89 on the top 100 prospects list now. He was number 4 at one point. So it's going to be interesting to see if he can get over that hump in 2026 and kind of adjust to a major league standpoint. But at third, they have Junior having 658 plate appearances and hitting 278 with a 539 slugging percentage. and a 5.3 WAR. And the going rate for WAR these days is about a lot of agents are kind of considering WAR. It's around $11 million per WAR these days. So a 5.3 WAR, that's contract's going to get a little way too expensive, way too fast for the Tampa Bay Rays. So we're gonna we'll see kind of how they go about extending kind of a future contract out to him. But we'll see about that pretty soon because he does have a couple more years of club control. So I'm not necessarily worried about it like right this second. But if he has another year like he did last year, he's not going to want to resign with the Rays because he knows he's going to get a lot of money somewhere else. So outfield perspective, they have Simpson hitting 288, 286, playing 376 plate appearances in left, as well as they also have Justin Henry Malloy, Jake Fraley, Jacob Melton, Velati, Cedric Mullins, Palacios, and DeLuca all getting plate appearances in left field. Center, Cedric Mullins is projected to get the kind of the bulk of the center field at bats, hitting 448 or 448 plate appearances, 232 average with a 1.4 WAR. And in right field, they have Jake Fraley getting the kind of the bulk of those ABs at 329, hitting 329 plate appearances and hitting 253. With Jacob Melton kind of all around getting about 150 plate appearances, I would like to see him get a lot more than that. I think that he's going to be that kind of X factor in the outfield if our outfield room is going to work, in my opinion. And I think that if it is going to work, he's going to be kind of front and center. I think he's going to be the person that, if our outfield room's good, I truly believe that Jacob Melton's going to be the reason for that from a hitting perspective. So, from a DH perspective, it's Diaz, Aranda, Malloy, Fraley, kind of all mixed in there plate appearance wise, which I don't necessarily think that any of this is too inaccurate, other than I do truly believe that Jacob Nelson's going to get a lot more opportunities in the outfield. And I think a lot of those opportunities are going to come really early on in the season and see if he can kind of hit that stride early and kind of just give it to him and let him run with it. I think that's what the Rays should do. And if I were the Rays and Kevin Cash, that's what I would do. But I, I'm not necessarily completely out on Jake Fraley either. I think that he has the potential to be a very good big league hitter. And I think that just the biggest question mark with everybody is going to be the defensive abilities. Cedric Mullins has shown in his prime years a decent center field. Simpson should be a center fielder. He's so fast, he's quick. His defensive judgment, his ability to track down fly balls, his depth perception when it comes to off the bat balls is a little below average. And I think that's why he struggles so much in the outfield. And he makes up for a lot of his mistakes with his athleticism and with his speed. And I think that if he can just hone in on being able to focus on getting a better jump and getting a better read and getting kind of better outfield depth perception off bat, getting to the spot early, not coasting. I think he would be a fantastic outfielder just based off his athletic ability. So we'll kind of see if he kind of hit that offseason stride and jump getting into it. But from a pitching perspective, they have Rasmussen at a 2.8, Pepio at a 2.1, McClanahan at a 2.9 WAR. So these aren't bad WAR numbers. They have Rasmussen pitching 171 innings. From a reliever standpoint, and they also have Joe Boyle and Ian Seymour is kind of the fifth starter as of right now with 90, 95, and 91 innings respectively. So I guess it's I would like to see Joe Boyle start the season in that fifth starter slot. I've said it a lot, and that's really kind of what I want to see. And I think that kind of this Fangraphs projection is they're kind of projecting it to be a coin flip. Joe Boyle's not getting it done in the fifth slot. Let's see what Seymour can do, kind of thing, and kind of go from there. But from a reliever standpoint, Ucetta's at a point 0.7, Jax is at a 1.4, Clevenger's at a point 0.8, Brian Baker's at a point 0.4, Mason Engler is a point 0.2, and then Cole Sulser is at a point 0. Everybody else is also at a point 0 or at a negative point 1. So that's really concerning when it comes to kind of how we've always seen the Rays use everybody out of the pen. And I think from a reliever's perspective, WAR is not necessarily a really good factor into using and kind of judging performance and play. But I do think that it is a decent projection on kind of usage rating and kind of how much they pitch and give them kind of that ability to judge based on bulk and judge based on kind of opportunities how much wins you're going to help the team out with is kind of what WAR is for relievers in my opinion. So the next thing I kind of want to talk about is that Hillsborough College did request $50 million from the state for demolition and removal purposes for the new stadium for the Rays, and they filed this on Monday before the vote went into play. So it's I know that DeSantis had came out and said that there was no taxpayer funding, and I did see some comments on last video about how they didn't understand how why you go to Orlando without taxpayer funding and kind of how that's kind of contradicts what I was saying about no taxpayer no state funding. It's DeSantis has already came out and said that he was not giving state funding for a new stadium. So I'm interested to see if that is just for the building and then the state funding for the removal of property on the current space is is kind of a separate entity of yes, we will do this and yes, we will pay for you to remove stuff that's there now. So it's interesting to see kind of if if DeSantis ever kind of folds into, okay, yeah, we'll give you a little bit of state funding to build this. I think it's going to be needed. I truly do, because it's a lot of money to build a stadium these days. It's hundreds of millions, upwards to billions of dollars to build elite stadiums now. So I believe state funding is going to be necessary unless they add just minor tax changes to rental cars to bed tax funding from out of state people for tourist taxes and things of that nature. They could tweak those just minutely and get more funding for the stadium, even if they go up point 1 or 0.05% for these taxes. In the long run, it helps. It really will help. But you guys let me know what you guys think about the fan graph kind of projections and kind of how that aligns with what you think, and as well as what you think about state funding and if it's going to be needed or if it should be needed, or if you do live in Florida like myself, what do you think? Or if you live in the Tampa area, what do you think about use your own taxpayer dollars going to build a new stadium? What are your thoughts on that? And you guys have a great weekend.